Okay, so as we said in the previous video, the quantity theory of money links the changes in prices with the changes in money supply. Okay, so what is velocity? Velocity is simply the number of times a piece of paper circulates in an economy. Okay, so we have a dollar bill, for example, and it has a certain number of times that is on average it circulates between hands, and this has to be over a certain period of time. And this is just an example. So in 2020 we have, for example, 500 billion transactions, and the money supply from the Fed is 100 billions of dollars. Then we can simply find the velocity of money by dividing the 500 by the 100. This would give us how many times on average the $1 bill circulates in the economy in 2009. Of course, if people are active, they circulate the dollar more, right? Or they circulate the money more. And the opposite is true. So the velocity of money, or how many times on average it circulates in an economy um, over a certain period of time, is simply the transactions or the value of transactions divided by the money supply. Okay, so what we have here is this is the value of transactions, okay, and this is the money supply both in dollars, and this would give us the number of times. So velocity is simply the number of times, it's not like in dollars or anything. So the nominal GDP is used as a proxy or as a representation for the value of transactions, right? Because if you think about it, you go to the supermarket, it's the price you pay times the quantity you buy. And this is per person, but if I want to think about it in terms of the whole economy, then the P is the price index, or you can choose GDP deflator or the CPI, but the way the velocity is computed is using the GDP deflator. And the quantity that we buy is not just like milk and eggs and so on when you go to the supermarket. No, this is the quantity of the whole economy. So P times Y is a proxy or a representation for the total transactions. So if you go back to the previous slide, it's the T. So instead of thinking about the T, the value of transactions, the easy way of representing these transactions as P times Y, right, divided by the money supply. So this is the nominal GDP. So when you think about this equation, right, it has how many variables? 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have 4 variables. So we can rewrite the 4 variables, right, in terms of M times V, P, Y, right? So it's simply velocity is equal to the value of transactions divided by the money supply. So if you multiply both sides times M, right? So you cancel on the right side, then you have MV equal PY. So this definition is an important definition in the quantity theory of money. This right side, this left side has to be equal to the right side. The value of transactions has to be equal to the money supply multiplied times the velocity of money, or the average number of times the $1 bill circulates in an economy. And I'm saying just $1 bill, but you can apply it to any currency. Okay? So the demand for money, we kept saying money supply, but the demand for money, right, is dependent on income. Okay? So I would demand money more when my income increases. and you can apply it to the whole economy. The whole economy would demand money more, right? As the GDP increases. And this K here is a representation of 1 over V, or the velocity of money. Again, you can just go back here and you can rewrite it, this equation, you can rewrite it into this one, right? So this is the quantity equation. If you divide both sides by V, then you will get M is equal 1 over V P times Y, right? And then if you divide by P, then you will get it as MP is equal to 1 over Vy, which is the first one here. And we say this one, we call it the demand for money. So the demand for money is dependent on the velocity of money and the income, or the GDP in the economy. So of course, as the velocity of money increases, your demand in real value, because M over P is demand in real value, right? It's not nominal value. Your demand decreases, and I want you to think about it. It makes sense, because if this piece of paper circulates fast in the economy, then I don't need that much money, because the piece of paper is coming back fast. So the higher the velocity of money, the lower the real demand for money. And the opposite is true. And it depends on your income. The higher the income, the more I will demand goods and services, and the higher is the real demand for money. Okay? So the real money balances, anytime we're dividing by P, we turn a variable into a real variable, right? So here it's the real money balances, or it represents the purchasing power of money. And of course, if it is M over P, anytime the P increases holding the money supply constant, the purchasing power of money decreases. Anytime the price increases, the purchasing power decreases. Okay, so this is a simple demand function which we had in the previous slide, and K again is equal to 1 over V, or in other words, how much money people wish to hold for a dollar of income, for each dollar of income. Okay, the big assumption in the quantity theory of money is that velocity is constant. It's a certain number and it's constant, does not change, right? So if this piece of paper circulates 5 times in a year, it's gonna stay 5 times in a year, every year, forever. So they have this big assumption that V is constant and it's exogenous. Exogenous is a mathematical word saying that we don't have a function for it. Like, I'm not gonna say that V is a function of so and so and so factors. So it's exogenous, so it does not depend on other factors. It's just given to us in this model. Okay, so the assumption, or the big assumption, is velocity is constant. Okay, and if this velocity is constant, so any changes in this left side is not related to the changes in velocity of money, because velocity of money is assumed to be constant. So any change in the nominal value of money has to be equated with the nominal GDP. Okay, P times Y is the nominal GDP, as we had it in one of the previous slides. So this is the repetition of what I said. So this is constant. So the money supply determines the nominal GDP. Okay. The real GDP itself is determined by the economy's supply of K and L, and we know this already. So we said, I think it was in the very first class, we said that income, which we can call it real GDP, depends on factors of production like labor, capital, natural resources, entrepreneurs. But here in this theory, which is the quantity theory of money, they are basically saying that production function would depend on two factors of production, L and K. Okay, so for this real GDP to increase, it has to be the case that factors of production, and more specifically K and L, increase. And then the price P is equal to the nominal GDP over the real GDP, and this is the definition of the GDP deflator. Right? GDP deflator is the nominal GDP over the real GDP. And if we take changes in the left and the right side, I already told you here that any change in the left side cannot be attributed to the changes in velocity because velocity is assumed to be constant. So any changes in the left side is coming from the money supply, which has to be equal to the nominal GDP. Okay, so if we take log of the left and the right, or if you want to write it in terms of percentages, then the percentage change in the money supply is equal to, this is 0, no change, so this is 0, is equal to the percentage change in prices plus the percentage change in income. Okay, so in order to get this like the inflation itself, or the, like, take each part, this one, this is the percentage change in the prices. Okay, so percentage change in prices is, like, you can write this one, the percentage change in money supply is equal to the percentage change in prices plus the percentage change in income. Okay, so when you take each part separately, the first part, or the part related to the price, it's basically inflation. So the change, or the percentage change in the price level, right, or the percentage change in the index, is inflation, and we give it this notation pi, or the Greek letter pi, as a notation for inflation. Okay, so if this is the pi, if this is inflation, then I can rewrite it by subtracting the change of y over y, change over y over y on both sides, and this cancels here, and I can write it this way, and this is very, very important. And this one is telling us inflation is equal to the growth of money supply, right, the percentage change in money supply, or the growth in money supply, minus the growth in GDP. And this is very important. Okay, so before we continue, I want you to do the attendance quiz. So let's see, attendance quiz 10-9. Wait, let me just double check. Yes, 10-9. Okay, so attendance quiz 10-9 is, password is IV37. So go ahead and do the practice quiz using this password, okay, for 10-9, and then we will continue.